Maritime warfare is one of the most essential parts of Navy forces all around the world. This is why the United States Air Force has kept a formidable fleet of cruisers. Much like a destroyer, a cruiser is a military combat vessel used for carrying ocean warfare weaponry and engaging in combat with ground enemies by dropping bombs, launching torpedoes, or deploying cruise missiles. Modern cruisers often are the largest ships in a fleet after aircraft carriers and amphibious assault ships, and they can undertake a variety of operational duties, ranging from search and destroy to ocean escort to sea operations. By the early 20th century, following World War I, the immediate successors to protected cruisers may be classified as warships of a consistent size, smaller than battleships but larger than destroyers. The Washington Naval Treaty of 1922 established a formal limit on these cruisers, which were defined as warships of up to 10,000 tons displacement carrying guns no larger than 8 inches in caliber. However, the 1930 London Naval Treaty established a distinction between two types of cruisers: heavy cruisers with guns ranging from 6.1 inches to 8 inches, and light cruisers with guns of 6.1 inches or less. Cruisers have been a primary part of the United States Army for decades. Cruisers took part in several surface actions early in World War II, as well as escorting carrier and battleship groups throughout the war. In the latter stages of the war, Allied cruisers primarily served as anti-aircraft escorts for carrier groups and conducted beach bombardment. In the latter stages of the war, Japanese cruisers escorted carrier and battleship groups, most notably during the devastating battles of the Philippine Sea and Leyte Gulf. In 1937 to 1941, after withdrawing from all naval treaties, the Japanese modernized or completed the Mogami and Tone classes as heavy cruisers by replacing their 6.1-inch triple guns with 8-inch twin barrels. Torpedo refits were also performed on most heavy cruisers, resulting in up to 16 24-inch tubes per ship, as well as a set of reloads. In 1941, the 1920s light cruisers Kii and Kitakami were converted into torpedo cruisers, equipped with 4 5.5-inch guns and 40 24-inch torpedo tubes. In 1944, Kitakami was modified to carry up to 8 Kaiten human torpedoes in place of standard torpedoes. Before World War II, cruisers were classified into 3 categories: heavy cruisers, light cruisers, and auxiliary cruisers. Heavy cruiser tonnage ranged from 20 to 30,000 tons with speeds of 32 to 34 knots, endurance of over 10,000 nautical miles, and armor thickness of 127 to 203 millimeters. Heavy cruisers were armed with 8 or 9 8-inch cannons with a range of more than 20 nautical miles. They were mostly deployed against enemy surface ships and shore-based targets. In addition, there were 10 to 16 secondary guns with calibers smaller than 130 millimeters. Additionally, dozens of automatic anti-aircraft guns were placed to combat aircraft and small vessels such as torpedo boats. For example, during World War II, American Alaska-class cruisers weighed more than 30,000 tons and were outfitted with 9 12-inch guns. Some cruisers could also carry 3 or 4 seaplanes to improve firing accuracy and conduct reconnaissance missions. Together with battleships, these heavy cruisers constituted formidable Navy task groups that dominated the world's waters for over a century. The Washington Treaty on Arms Limitation, signed in 1922, severely restricted the tonnage and quantity of battleships, aircraft carriers, and cruisers. To avoid violating the convention, governments began developing light cruisers. Light cruisers from the 1920s had displacements of less than 10,000 tons and speeds of up to 35 knots. They had 6 to 12 main guns with calibers ranging from 127 to 130 millimeters. They also had 8 to 12 secondary weapons under 127 millimeters, dozens of tiny caliber cannons, torpedoes, and mines. Some ships carried 2 to 4 seaplanes, primarily for reconnaissance. The London Naval Treaty, signed in 1930, authorized the construction of large light cruisers with the same tonnage as heavy cruisers and up to 15 155mm guns. The Japanese Mogami class was built to the limits of the treaty as were similar ships built by the Americans and British. However, in 1939, the Mogamis were converted into heavy cruisers with 10 203mm guns. One of the deadliest cruisers in the United States Navy's arsenal was the USS Ticonderoga. The Ticonderoga, or CG-47, is an important ship in the history of the United States Navy, symbolizing technological breakthroughs and strategic adjustments in naval warfare over the latter half of the 20th century. As the flagship of the Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruisers, CG-47 established a standard in maritime defense capabilities with its groundbreaking Aegis Combat System. Commissioned on January 22, 1983, the USS Ticonderoga was the first of her class, which was designed to provide a multi-mission offensive and defensive capability against threats from the air, surface, and subsurface. The ship's design was based on the Spruance-class destroyer hull, but featured significant enhancements to accommodate the advanced Aegis Combat System. The Aegis system, developed by the RCA, later Lockheed Martin, was a revolutionary radar and missile system capable of tracking and engaging multiple targets simultaneously, thus providing an unprecedented level of situational awareness and response. The USS Ticonderoga had a length of 567 feet, a beam of 55 feet, and a draft of 34 feet. It was powered by 4 General Electric LM2500 gas turbines, which generated a combined 80,000 shaft horsepower, enabling a top speed of over 30 knots. The ship's armament included the Mark 41 vertical launching system, capable of firing a variety of missiles, including the Standard Missile, Tomahawk Land Attack Missile, and the ASROC, or the Anti-Submarine Rocket. Additionally, it was equipped with Harpoon anti-ship missiles, 2 5-inch naval guns, phalanx close-in weapons systems, and torpedo tubes. The most versatile component of the USS Ticonderoga's capabilities was the Aegis Combat System. The system's heart was the AN-SPY-1 radar, a multi-function phased array radar capable of tracking over 100 targets at once and directing multiple missiles to intercept threats. This capacity revolutionized naval warfare, enabling improved defenses against air and missile attacks while also improving offensive operations. The Aegis system's connection with the ship's weaponry enabled rapid response to threats, with missiles launched within seconds of target recognition. This integration was critical to the ship's capacity to undertake a diverse variety of missions, including fleet air defense, surface warfare, and power projection via land attack capabilities. Ticonderoga underwent drills in the Caribbean and Atlantic Ocean before departing for her new home port of Naval Station Norfolk, Virginia, shortly after being commissioned in Pascagoula. On June 3, 1983, she arrived in Norfolk. On October 20th, she went to the Mediterranean with the Independence Carrier Strike Group. After a brief port visit in Portsmouth, England, Ticonderoga was ordered to the coast of Beirut following the bombing of a U.S. Marine barracks on October 23, 1983. During her 48 stay on post, she fired her 5-inch guns at opposing artillery batteries, attempting to shoot down 2 F-14 Tomcat fighter planes on a reconnaissance mission over Lebanon. Ticonderoga made a port visit in Haifa, Israel, for the new year before returning to Norfolk on May 4, 1984. On September 8, 1984, during maneuvers east of Mayport, Florida, a fire broke out in Ticonderoga's aft main engine exhaust uptake. The at-sea and general quarters fire parties eventually extinguished the fire, and Ticonderoga returned to Norfolk under her own power in early October. The USS Ticonderoga served extensively during its lifetime, taking part in several missions and exercises that displayed its versatility and effectiveness. One of its most important missions was in 1986 when it took part in freedom of navigation drills in the Gulf of Sidra, which challenged Libya's territorial claims. During these operations, the ship successfully engaged Libyan missile boats, demonstrating her enhanced combat capability. In 1991, the USS Ticonderoga was instrumental in Operational Desert Storm. The ship's Aegis system provided air defense for the coalition fleet, defending it against Iraqi missile and aircraft threats. The ship also launched Tomahawk missiles at important sites in Iraq, contributing to the overall success of the mission. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, the USS Ticonderoga served in a variety of theaters, including the Mediterranean, Persian Gulf, and Atlantic. It took part in NATO drills and anti-piracy operations and supplied humanitarian aid and disaster relief. The ship's adaptability and modern systems enabled it to adapt to a variety of missions, making it an invaluable asset to the United States Navy. On May 4, 2004, she completed her transit of the Panama Canal and proceeded to reach the equator. Her ship's crew participated in the crossing's rites and rituals, inducting the captain and several of the crew into shellbacks. She completed her final deployment on August 3, 2004. Ticonderoga visited many Liberty ports, including Cazamet, Mexico, Colon, Mayport, Guantanamo Bay, Cartagena, Colombia Vasco, Núñez de Balboa, Panama, and Puerto Quetzal, Guatemala. She coordinated counter-narcotics activities with Colombian military officials. Ticonderoga successfully stopped 5 cigarette-shaped go-fast smuggling boats and 1 fishing vessel, seizing more than 14,000 pounds of cocaine and detaining 25 suspects. She was later decommissioned on September 30th of that year. After being decommissioned, she was towed to the Naval Inactive Ship Maintenance Facility in Philadelphia. The Navy presented her to the museum as a donation in 2010. An effort was made to relocate Ticonderoga to Pascagoula, Mississippi, where she was built to serve as a museum ship. In May of 2013, the vessel was formally removed from the Naval Vessel Register for disposal. The Ticonderoga Historical Society announced in October of that year that the U.S. Navy was planning to demolish the ship after several possible museum sites were unable to add her to their collections. In June 2014, NAVSEA issued a disposal reporting letter stating that the ex-Ticonderoga was available for better inspection and ready for scrapping or sinking. In September of 2020, she arrived in Brownsville, Texas for scrapping. The USS Ticonderoga's technological achievements extended beyond the Aegis Combat System. The ship also had advanced communication, navigation, and electronic warfare systems. These innovations improved the ship's situational awareness, allowing it to operate successfully in a variety of tough environments. The vertical launching system was another key invention. The VLS enabled quick missile reloading and firing, resulting in increased flexibility and firepower. This system has become a typical feature aboard modern Navy vessels, demonstrating the Ticonderoga-class's design's long-lasting significance. The ship's gas turbine-powered propulsion system provided high speed and mobility, which were required for responding to dynamic threats. Gas turbines also provided logistical advantages because they were easier to maintain and run than traditional steam turbines. The USS Ticonderoga's victory was due in large part to the crew's talent and dedication. Managing such a sophisticated warship needed substantial training and skill. The crew's capacity to maintain and operate the complex systems on board meant that the craft could carry out its tasks efficiently. The USS Ticonderoga also helped to develop international cooperation. The ship took part in numerous joint exercises with Allied fleets, which improved interoperability and strengthened relationships over time. These exercises improved collective security and underlined the U.S. Navy's willingness to collaborate with its partners. The introduction of the USS Ticonderoga and its Aegis Combat System had a significant impact on naval tactics and strategies. The capacity to track and engage several targets at once revolutionized the approach to fleet air defense, making it more robust and effective. The Ticonderoga-class cruisers provided a protective barrier for carrier strike groups, allowing them to operate in more dangerous locations with far less risk. The USS Ticonderoga's multi-mission capacity affected the evolution of naval tactics. The ship's capacity to conduct air defense, surface warfare, and strike missions provided increased operational flexibility. Commanders could deploy Ticonderoga-class cruisers in a variety of roles based on mission objectives, increasing the effectiveness of naval forces. The success of the USS Ticonderoga highlighted the significance of integrated combat systems in modern naval warfare. The ship's superior radar, missile, and fire control systems interacted flawlessly, giving comprehensive defensive and offensive capabilities. This integration has become a trademark of modern Navy vessels, highlighting the importance of systems that can work together to combat a complex threat. The USS Ticonderoga was decommissioned on September 30, 2004, after serving for more than 20 years. The decision to retire the ship was driven by the rising cost of maintaining and repairing the aging vessel, as well as the emergence of newer ships with more modern technologies. The Ticonderoga's legacy lives on even after it was decommissioned. The Ticonderoga-class cruisers established new standards in naval warfare, with their Aegis Combat System serving as the cornerstone for future naval defensive systems. The Aegis system's effectiveness led to its integration into other ship classes, such as the Arleigh-Burke-class and Zumwalt-class destroyers. The Aegis system has also been deployed by ally navies, so strengthening NATO and other U.S. partners' collective security. The USS Ticonderoga stands as a landmark in the history of naval warfare. Its introduction marked a significant shift in naval tactics and technology, with the Aegis Combat System providing a new level of defense and offense capability. The ship's operational history showcased its versatility and effectiveness, contributing to numerous missions and operations over its 2-decade service life. Although it was decommissioned, the legacy of the USS Ticonderoga lives on in the ships and systems that followed. The innovations and lessons learned from CG-47 have shaped the design and development of modern naval vessels, ensuring that the U.S. Navy remains at the forefront of maritime defense. The USS Ticonderoga's impact on naval strategy, technology, and international cooperation will be remembered as a defining moment in the evolution of naval warfare. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Make sure you let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.